Topic of discussion now and again in any political area, but especially in libertarian or freedom-oriented circles, is how do we persuade people to accept our positions? Well, some people say that to persuade people you should never say or do anything that can be construed as an insult. Well, maybe not. In my experience, too many collectivists and statists have zero interest in using facts, reasons, or anything remotely resembling critical thinking. Now, such things as reason, logic, and facts, etc., that is persuasion in a real sense, not simply tricking people into getting you to believe, those kinds of tools only work with people who are open to reason, logic, facts, etc. While there's a vast chasm between people who have simple errors of knowledge and evasion of what someone actually knows implicitly, too often people continue to believe what they believe, not from errors, but because they want to believe X regardless of what the reason, logic, or facts are. Now, I'm happy to try to talk with people who disagree with me and are willing to engage in a real dialogue. That is, they're willing to provide evidence for their positions, they address apparent contradictions, and adhere to the principles of intellectual argumentation. But when a hardcore statist, collectivist, or mystic refuses to offer a scintilla of evidence to back up his or her position, they want to state his or her position, but they don't want me to state my position, who simply want to believe X but don't want to deal with any objections, who refer ad hominem attacks, that is, insults against me, but then they bristle against having any of their ideas properly identified, then the attempt at persuasion in regard to this individual or individuals is pointless. Now, anti-self-defense zealots are a prime example. One can offer statistics, moral principles, constitutional principles, etc., till one's blue in the face, but most of these people ignore or evade all that. They don't think the very notion of self-defense is legitimate. They're impervious to any kind of true intellectual persuasion. So too are those people who want an end, whatever that end is, whether it's welfare or social justice or whatever nonsense they talk about. They want an end, but they don't want to examine the means to accomplish that end. But the ends never, ever justify the means. The means have to be justified on their own grounds. There are people who tell me to my face that they have a right to my money and to my life. That is, it's moral to take my money and dictate to me how I may or may not live my life. These people truly aren't worthy of engagement. As Ayn Rand pointed out many times, trying to reason with such an individual is a futile endeavor. Now, pandering to those who want to enslave us, yet still want to be viewed as morally decent people, is also not a virtue. When it's clear that someone is not operating from a lack of knowledge, but from pure and willful evasion, who indeed, for example, praise a robber rather than simply saying that it's wrong to be robbed and how do we deal with it, such people pretend to act as though they're worth dealing with. But for us to go along with their pretension is an evasion of reality on our part. Now, properly identifying what their actions really are in reality may not be polite and may very well not persuade them. After all, they're not open to logic or reason or facts. But such naming can be valuable for other people who are open to argumentation and who hear such ideas or behaviors or actions labeled for what they truly are. Now, calling an evasive statist or collectivist a thief or robber won't accomplish much with that particular thief, but an honest person who's simply wrong may be given pause when he or she realizes that what he or she has always supported is indeed theft or robbery, and then maybe that person will begin to reevaluate his positions and philosophy. What I find particularly egregious are people, so-called friends or just individuals I run across, a social situation who act in a way that is just incomprehensible and indefensible. For example, imagine someone in a social situation said that blacks are inferior subhumans who need to be ruled by whites, but then they say, well, quote, I know you disagree, but I simply don't want to discuss it. Or just as bad, well, let's agree to disagree. Yeah, right. I'm supposed to just pretend that their belief is okay and just continue on with the polite fiction that this person is not repugnant and still deserves to retain the title of friend or decent human being. I think not. Now, there's a wide variety of avenues for advancing freedom and morality. There's the dispassionate academic approach, there's plain everyday talk, there's use of humor, ridiculing or shaming people, sarcasm. Each has its place. It's simplistic to pretend there's one and only one right way to promote liberty. All tools should be available as appropriate. Now, too many people in the freedom movement have for too long been polite to the enemies of freedom, while the latter, statists, collectivists, would-be tyrants, many of them properly should be called our enemies. These people have constantly painted us as evil incarnate, immoral creatures without souls or compassion, on and on and on, while we're the ones who are defending individual autonomy, responsibility, morality, peacefulness, etc. Now, what exactly has 90 years of politeness gotten us in the freedom movement? Overall, despite some areas of improvement, a bigger government, and we've got more and more intrusive laws, regulations into our lives, overall less and less freedom. More restrictions, more regulations, the tightening of the noose that was placed around our necks a long time ago. Hey, great strategy. So it's time to end this and realize that we need to call these people for what they are, not let them get away with their pretense of individual humanity. Now, as an aside, people say, well, you shouldn't never call somebody a racist or a thief or whatever. But if someone is a racist, then that is not an insult. It's not an ad hominem attack. It's an evaluation of evidence that reaches a logical conclusion. Calling someone a thief, a bigot, or whatever is not automatically a fallacy. Now, the ad hominem fallacy occurs when one substitutes insults for an argument. However, if one presents the facts and evidence and links them together and how or why someone is a thief or robber or racist, a liar, or whatever, there's no fallacy. Somebody else can argue against the conclusion as falling properly from the presented evidence, but one would also be incorrect in stating that calling someone a liar as a thief is, in that situation, an ad hominem attack. If sufficient evidence has been presented and a reasonable logical inference has been reached. A liar is a liar, a thief is a thief, a bigot is a bigot. Identifying aspect of reality and offering the evidence and argument to back up that inference is the essence of critical thinking and proper argumentation. We should never be ashamed to call someone or something what it is in reality. But don't get me started.